One of the more recent series on the channel, which is doing quite well, is SCP as Superheroes. You guys wanted to see more of it, so let's bring these illustrations to life. Before we start, I must congratulate you all on your recent promotion to level 4. With this, you've been cleared for today's briefing. We continue with the files on the anomalies that are all Keter class or above. In fact, some of these may be classified wrong, as the anomalies are contained at present. However, the first one is by far only contained, we believe, due to its own choice. Subject SCP-F002 is a rather strange and peculiar case, where a regular civilian was struck by a strange bolt of lightning from an experimental reactor that exploded, causing a strange wave of energy to flood the clouds in the sky. Once this bolt hit the subject in question, it knocked them unconscious, as a red electrical type of glow covered their body. Upon waking, the subject soon discovered they had been changed and were able to move fast. So fast, in fact, they were able to outrun cars in motion as well as bullets flying through the air. At first, all was fine with the subject, who decided to use their newfound power to help people in need. However, over time, the side effects of this altered power were starting to become more apparent. Due to the change in the subject's body, the super speed that had been obtained along with a faster healing factor also resulted in a much higher metabolic rate than normal. The more the subject used their newfound gifts, the more insatiable their appetite became, leading the subject in question to eat much larger meals that grew in size at an exponential rate. After eating, this insatiable hunger could only be subdued for a short period of time, but eventually it became a constant hunger, driving the subject to constantly require a large amount of substance. At first, this large consumption had no real impact on the body of the subject. In fact, due to the intensity of the metabolic rate, the subject wouldn't put on any weight at all, but had an insanely large intake requirement. So large, in fact, that it soon became apparent that more and more people were starting to disappear over the city where the subject lived. No one had any clues what was behind these disappearances, but after some investigation, the Foundation found out the reason. Although it is a tragic turn of events. The Foundation operatives discovered that the strange events were related to SCP-F002. The immense appetite due to the increased metabolic rate had caused SCP-F002 to take and eat those around. Starting with a few homeless people, the hunger was unquenchable, after a while needing more people to be eaten or a much larger individual to be taken. During the capture process, it was discovered that SCP-F002 was able to not only move at super high speeds, but also to use the speed to run up walls and even phase through solid objects. Thankfully, there have been other speedy anomalies that the Foundation has encountered and contained. This allowed the Foundation to restrain SCP-F002 by using a freezing field that slows a fast-moving object or target down by rapidly dropping the temperature to sub-zero levels. This was combined with a containment unit that had a rapid influx of freezing measures in order to maintain the low temperature and keep the subject immobilized. By the time SCP-F002 was brought to its containment cell, the subject's body looked like it was also mummified and aged to that of a wrinkled corpse. However, strangely enough, the subject was still alive. After several experiments, it was discovered that the subject was able to withstand the freezing temperatures by shimmering in effect, vibrating its body so fast it generated its own internal heat source, although this did expend a large amount of energy. On a couple of occasions, D-Class personnel interacting with SCP-F002 had become its latest meal. Despite this, it was observed that after a large intake of calories, SCP-F002 was back to normal, without any signs of the insatiable hunger, as long as there was a steady and vast supply of food for SCP-F002. It was happy to remain within the containment cell contently. Due to this, we have classified SCP-F002 as Keter class, only due to the fact it is willing to stay as long as a food supply continues to exist. Since we have covered all that is not redacted in the file on SCP-F002, we move on to our next case. This one is a rather unique and dangerous SCP, SCP-GB14, also designated as Ghost Boy, a 14-year-old boy who has merged with a rather unique item. Thus far, the scientists at the Foundation have been unable to separate the teenager from SCP-GB, a set of broken chains imbued with ghost energy that attach themselves to a target and possess them, giving a wide range of ghost-like powers, while changing the subject's appearance to have greyish-white hair with a purple tinge, and skin that looks super pale in colour, often looking like a normal teenager despite this rather unique appearance when the powers are in use. SCP-GB14 has shown a variety of powers of a supernatural nature, from intangibility and invisibility to flight, and even the use of ghostly energy to create blasts. The subject is able to change from human form to ghost form at will. However, tests have shown that there are a wider range of powers available the more ghost energy SCP-GB14 has. We have discovered, after many D-Class personnel were sent in to test the limits of SCP-GB14, after a while when the ghost energy was low, a set of ghost skulls, more like cursed skulls, come out of the body and energy that is produced by this anomaly, draining the spiritual energy or soul of its target to replenish its own. This process also increased the amount of ghost energy the subject could wield. It was also noted that the energy could recover at a slower rate when SCP-GB14 was in human form. In this form, everything was just as it should be for a normal human, except for one small difference. In the human form, SCP-GB14 could still see ghosts and ghost energy, including the spiritual aura around people. This often made the bonded ghost energy run wild when someone with a large spiritual presence was in the containment unit or even on site. With this said, there were several measures taken for the containment of SCP-GB14. First, no one is allowed to turn off the frequency generators and power to the anti-ghost equipment set up by the Foundation. In the event of a power cut, there is a backup supply. Each device will last for approximately 48 hours before failing. There are also alternative power measures for this facility. The second measure is that only those with a low or extremely high spiritual level are allowed to go near the subject. This is due to the fact that if the energy of a person is vastly higher than SCP-GB14's, the ghost-type cursed energy will not attack them. The last countermeasure is one that is not really a choice, as it is unknown what will happen, but to kill SCP-GB14 when in human form. Then seal the containment room and hope the ghost energy does not allow the chained artifact to escape containment and seek out a new host. Next, we have one of the most difficult to contain SCPs the Foundation has managed to contain. This SCP is one of raw power and is an enhancement type of anomaly. This is SCP-AM-008, and it seems to be a human who has been exposed to a rather powerful anomaly. The true form of this SCP is unknown, however. It does require a human host to show its effect. SCP-AM-008 has a rather unique containment cell. In fact, this cell is not within a standard site of the Foundation, and only those with level 4 clearance or above are privy to the information. Well, the information that has not been heavily redacted. For you see, this anomaly has the ability to transfer from host to host under a ritual if the criteria is met. This has allowed this SCP to have had 7 previous hosts. Each time the host's life is in danger or a better host has appeared, SCP-AM moves on to the new host, taking over its body and giving the wielder unimaginable raw power. As such, the Foundation has declared that no personnel under level 5 are allowed to access the containment cell of SCP-AM-008. This is due to the fact that only level 5 members of the Foundation have clearance to use the containment system that keeps SCP-AM-008 held within it. As for the location of this containment facility, it can be found at an undisclosed location approximately 900 miles underground. Unfortunately, some of the quakes and tsunamis around the world have been caused by the shockwaves sent out by SCP-AM-008 hitting the walls of its containment cell. Although the walls are made out of a super shock absorbing and nullifying material, the force of the impact at times has surpassed the limits of the absorbing and nullifying features of the wall, only by enough for a shockwave to go through the surrounding rock and cause the natural disasters that happen on the surface. The Foundation has managed to keep this under wraps. If word got out that a single entity was able to cause disasters, global panic would ensue. After a while, we observed another SCP had managed to get into the containment cell of SCP-AM-008, and a massive battle ensued. This resulted in devastating injuries for both of the SCPs. The one that invaded the containment cell ended up with half of its head blown away. However, we noticed that it began to regenerate, so we took it to be contained in another facility. Currently, the information on this SCP has not been included in this file. SCP-AM-008, however, received an injury to their side that's left a lasting scar and caused an unexpected side effect. Only half of the host body could be affected by SCP-AM. Due to the extensive injury, this did reduce the amount of time that the enhancement on the host would last, but it also had another strange impact on this anomaly. It appears that only half of the host body can be enhanced at any one time. This is not a literal half as shown in the file, but it's up to 50% of the host's mass. That can be enhanced with this super raw power. The damage caused to the non-enhanced part is severe and over time has led to a frail and seemingly drained husk when the powers of SCP-AM-008 are not in effect. SCP-AM also has a peculiar trait of saying the same phrase over and over again. It's fine now. Do you know why? Because I am here. Our last SCP to cover today in the records of the Foundation is SCP-FF003, known as the Human Torch. This is a rather unfortunate case where the host in the containment cell can no longer be classed as living, despite appearances. SCP-FF003 was once known as Johnny Storm, a rather skilled yet hot-headed individual who was known as a daredevil of sorts, often seen in the fast-paced environment of extreme sports. That was until one day he encountered a strange SCP, which is yet to be classified. And the Foundation believes that this SCP, it has been labelled SCP-F001, and the Foundation believes that this SCP is responsible for several new anomalies in the FF classification. Anyway, we digress from the matter at hand. That fateful encounter was with what could only be described as a living flame, one which has failed to show any forms of higher intelligence. SCP-FF003 is a human body that has been completely engulfed and possessed by this living flame. Onlookers to this rather unique sight can only describe it as a flaming zombie from one of those popular horror films or games. A charred corpse walking around aimlessly, covered in flames, parts of burnt flesh still on the bones, but no signs of life as we know it. It has been observed that SCP-FF003 will react to external stimuli, especially anything that might feed or fuel its flames. The same can also be said to any potential threats that SCP-F003 encounters. This has been noticed through tests with various D-Class personnel. SCP-F003 can superheat the surrounding environment to temperatures akin to a supernova, although we do have some countermeasures if the temperatures rose to those levels. In an instant, containment would be breached. With that said, SCP-FF003 seems to need to recover or refuel, might be a more suitable word. This would either be by consuming anything it can burn to invigorate the flames. However, when in containment, we observed a rest period where the flames would be less intense on the whole body. The flames would still burn, but this would allow oxygen used up in the room to refill from the natural circulation system, until at a level the body can ignite in full and continue to roam around the room like a zombie. Although this does suggest some level of intelligence, it's been theorized that this is nothing more than instinct that any living creature would have in order to survive. SCP-FF003 has been given the designation of the Living Flame, although around the facility it has been known as the Human Torch. We recommend that extreme caution is taken when dealing with SCP-FF003, as it is unknown if the flame can move from one host to another, or if there are certain criteria that are needed for this to happen. Perhaps the host being taken over was due to some strange events. However, it would be apt if this anomaly was treated with extreme caution. So what did you guys think? Did you enjoy part 2 of Superheroes as SCPs? Hope you enjoyed the artwork. I had a lot of fun on these. I know there's been a few requests to go a bit more monstrous in the designs, so here's a challenge for you all. Suggest a couple of superheroes that you'd like to see. It can be from Marvel, DC, any anime series. And I will do the next SCP as superheroes with a much more monstrous version of them in mind. Monday is the closing date for the submissions of this month's community redraw. You can find details of it on the link in the description below, as well as on the last community redraw video, Deception Under the Mistletoe, which was quite fun. Stay safe, everybody. Catch you next time.